Hey everybody, welcome to It's Real with Jordan and Demi in LA. I'm Jordan Edwards. In New York, we got Demi Ramos. What's up, Demi?
What's up, Jordan? I was just saying I feel a little bit like miss you guys. Touch you through the screen right here.
And today we have Mike and Tom from MxPx. What's going on, guys?
Great to be here. Great to be in Los Angeles. Sorry we missed you. You're in New York, Demi, but, you know, we're going to talk. You're looking good over there. This is Tom.
What's up? What's up?
Yeah. And I'm not going to be self-conscious that you can read my notes right now off to the side. That's okay.
Do
That's
your
okay.
thing.
Yeah. So let's talk about the new album. My first question is, you guys have been around for so long. That's like, what gets you excited to make a new MxPx album? Like, what gets you in the studio now?
My main thing is I have to plot to get the band guys excited, you know, because I'm writing the songs, but we're usually like working on, you know, a live tour coming up, like a live stage show or something like that. We've been doing like live streams, you know, the last couple of years. So
Anything live.
So going back into the record, it's like, okay, I have to like time it just right. I'm not saying I actually planned that out, but it seems to be just the timing for us to all click together and actually like be in a place where we want to take a deep breath and go, okay, this is going to be a lot of work, you know, like when you're, you know, about to like go to work for like a double shift or something like that, you know, it's like that, except for it's a fun job. So it's exciting, but there is that a lot of work, you know, like that's about to be piled up.
Tommy, he kind of threw you under the bus there a little bit.
No, it's fine. No, I was going to say the thing that gets me excited, it's actually three parts. So it's the creation. We're sitting in the studio, we're writing songs, and we're figuring it out. And we're like taking these little like seeds of a song and making it into a real thing. So it's the creation, it's that creative aspect of it. Then you got the documentation where we go record it, right? And you got to be creative in that too, no doubt. But like we got the basic framework of it down, and we're just like, that's super fun to me. I love being in the studio. I love recording. It's great. If we could just record all the time, it would be awesome. Then it's just getting it out to people and seeing their reaction and getting that instant feedback. Social media is great for that because you get to see the comments come right back at you versus like the old days where you put it out and you'd have to wait to go on tour to get people excited at the shows. But now, so it's like those three parts, just really just like, it's always fun. I always love making new stuff. It's great.
Speaking of that,
an interesting perspective. I think that's the first time we had someone on the show that said they enjoy like doing, you know, the internet part of like what it is to be an artist today. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Especially coming from like a punk rock band. That's pretty cool. It's like a fresh perspective on it.
Yeah, it's easy to kind of get down on the social media thing, but I think if we just think of it as people and as our community, it doesn't like stigmatize it as much, you know. It's just more about like, let's just reach some people. Let's tell people about the new album. Let's tell people about whatever we're doing right now. And yeah, social media, you know, it's like, it's part of the job. It's part of the work. But if you just make it not so much a job and make it more about communicating, I think that's what we're trying to do when we do this kind of stuff, just trying to like connect with people. And it's been working. I mean, we just been doing it.
Yeah, and is there any significance? What's the significance between "Find a Way Home" for the album title?
Well, you know, the last couple of years has been crazy for everybody. It doesn't matter where you're from, what part of the world you're from. The world's changing, technology's changing. Sometimes it feels like you're struggling to find where you feel comfortable in the world. For us, obviously, wherever we're together, wherever we're doing music, it feels like home for us. So it could mean a lot of different things, but I feel like generally it's just about finding what you're looking for, no matter who. So as a listener, I'm thinking, okay, find a way home, digging as deep as I can into my own personal emotions about, you know, the life that's been going on lately. So yeah, find a way home. We're still looking.
One thing I think about when I think about your band is the consistency. Like if you listen to, you know, your early albums and you listen to the new stuff, they go right alongside each other. Like your voice still sounds the same. You don't sound like a scraggly you didn't get like the Bob Dylan voice thing going on. So how have you maintained the consistency in terms of the sound and the songwriting?
That's a great question. I think, honestly, what we try to do is be true to who we are, be true to what the song is as I write it, because there's you could take a song and cover it and make it a country song, make it a folk song,
Sure.
whatever. But what we do when we get together as MxPx is we have a sound, and for better or worse, that's what we sound like. And so I think it's almost like we can't help it. We can't help sounding like what we sound like, and therefore the old records and the new records are kind of gonna fit together. We actually did a live stream. The last live stream we did a few weeks ago was not only the whole record, but we in between added in requests from the audience. So they were getting their favorites mixed in with the new songs. And we were really, really happy and surprised that it actually flowed really well. Like, it didn't seem like, okay, this is a totally different style. And so to your comment, I totally agree with you.
I think also too, if you're as a band, if you're just like honest and like, truthful to what you have and what you are, it's always going to sound like you. It may be a different kind of style or a vibe, like the Clash. They changed dramatically throughout their career, but it was always still the Clash.
Right.
So I think like no matter what we do, if we're being real and we're being authentic, it's always going to sound like us.
And how collaborative is the songwriting process? Do you have riffs ready to go when you come in or Mike, do you have all the songs ready to go, or how's that work?
I mean, it goes a few different ways, but mostly like I do songwriting by myself, and I'll put together lyrics, chord progressions, some riffs, sometimes, but almost always the song changes completely. So like I'll have the lyrics and I'll have a few parts, but then like say there's a part Tom's not really feeling, he'll tell me that. I'll be like, are you sure? We'll try it a few different ways. And if he's still not feeling it, I'll change that. So it's very collaborative, but I kind of bring the shell of the song, if that makes sense. But like I said, it wouldn't sound like MxPx until everybody else puts their stamp on it.
Oh, that's such a fire statement right there. Speaking of like just what you said, so how does in a punk rock band, how does one band member tell another band member that they're not feeling a riff or something? Like what happens behind the scenes?
I mean, right to their face, honestly. We're sitting in the room, we're all jamming together, and it's real easy. Like, I mean, he can see it on my face sometimes if I'm just like, when we're playing something like, I don't really feel this. There was a song, Mistakes We Made. It's the last song on Find a Way Home. And there was a part in it that I just, every time we played through it, it was just like fingernails on a chalkboard. It was like, I don't like this. It doesn't fit. It's weird. It takes me out of the song. We worked on it for maybe a solid month. Mike would come back, try it this way. It was always there. And I was like, just that part just kills me every time. He'd try reworking it. Finally, one day, he's like, I think I got it. And we played the song, and we just took that part out. And I was like, oh, you nailed it. And it went from a song that I honestly like didn't like, and I was like, there's no way this is going to be on the record, to being like one that I really love. And like, I was like, this is a great way to end the record. So yeah, to your question, we got to be honest with each other. And we've been doing this long enough that we can say, man, that song you wrote sucks, right to his face. And it's not like, it's not personal. It's just, we're all trying to fight to make this a better thing. The song, the band, whatever it is.
Outside of the band, you guys are obviously like really close. How do you maintain that connection like with your band members so that like you are growing as people together along with your project? You know what I'm saying?
Some Oprah stuff right there.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I feel like doing things that a band does, which is making records, playing shows, making music videos, doing photo shoots, that stuff's kind of important for like promo and all that. But what it does for us as people and as band members is it brings us together, because we're doing those things together and we're experiencing this work, because it is work. I mean, a lot of people would argue that, but it is work, so you experience this together. And think of like where you work. You don't necessarily love all your employees, but there's employees you love, right? There's people
I don't love my band members.
I love that person, So that for us is us, and we don't always hang out outside the band, but anytime we do, we're good with it. So
it's also the same kind of thing. It's like brothers or old friends. You see each other and you pick right back up where you were the last time you saw each other. So Mike could go away for a month or two and he comes back and it's just like the same old. Been friends since high school and probably be friends till one of us dies, honestly.
yeah.
Speaking of, when you guys were coming up in the early 90s, what was the atmosphere like? What was the rock landscape like? Because it was kind of wide open. I think about your debut album and Teenage Politics kind of came out back to back, and that was kind of the era of Dookie and Dude Ranch, and that sort of like when pop punk was becoming more of like a radio friendly thing. So what was the vibe like, and what were your hopes for the band when you guys were starting to release music?
I mean, for me, what my hope was with the band was we made a record, and that was amazing. Like, oh my God, like there's a CD of our music, and like I'm playing guitar on that, and it's great and it's awesome. And like as an 18-year-old, that was just mind blowing. Like I had CDs from other bands, and I had records from other bands, and like we did it. Like we made one. That's really cool. I didn't know like what would go on from there. We went on tour straight out of high school. We graduated on Monday and shot a video Tuesday. Went on tour for 2 months on Wednesday. It just happened. It was planned throughout our senior year. Like we were going right. And I didn't know what was going to happen when we came back. And the first tour went really well. And, you know, it seemed like people really liked it, and like we survived, right? And so we were like, well, let's do another one. Well, okay, that sounds cool. And like then after a while, I was like, I got these new songs from Mike. He's like, well, let's jam together. Let's make a new record. And it just kind of like, you know, it took over, and it just kind of like it cruised. And it was like, hey, you guys ever thought about touring in Europe? Bad Religion wants you to open for them. I was like, oh yeah, duh.
The reason I was going to connect, I was going to make like an "You're Only Going to Die" Bad Religion reference there.
Yeah.
So you guys were friends with them. I thought, were you guys You guys were fans first, right? With Bad Religion.
Definitely fans first. Yeah.
Like, what were you? What did you guys? Because guys were in high school, or even before high school when you started playing together.
Yeah.
So what were you listening to? What were you kind of modeling your sound after at the time?
I mean, the Descendants are the big one, right? Yeah. For us, and for just like pop punk bands in general. Like, if there's no Descendants, there's no us, for sure.
Yeah, we started getting into like, so we came up in Bremerton, Washington, which is it's outside of Seattle, Washington, and the grunge scene was big.
Right.
I heard Nirvana for the first time in my junior high school, and I was like, what is this? It sounds like a weird Metallica. I like it, but like
weird Metallica.
It sounds like Metallica because his voice, Kurt Cobain's voice sounded nothing like what people sounded like on the radio, right? So I was like, I guess it could be Metallica, because there was no other explanation in my brain. And this is this was before I'd really started like getting into the band thing. MxPx started the summer before our high school years. So in junior high, it was just like the world's crazy. All these grunge bands are huge, but we were little kids. Like we really were. So we're kind of just seeing this from.
You had no desire to sound like Soundgarden or Nirvana.
No, I mean, not really. Like,
Really? No.
I liked Nirvana. I liked all that stuff, and we definitely, like, a couple of their songs sounded punk. I think Territorial Pissings, we covered that just because it was more of like, that's like a straight punk song.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we're influenced by all of that Seattle stuff in some ways, but I really feel like Tom was saying, the Southern California bands, Bad Religion, Descendants, NoFX, all that stuff, we kind of got into that pretty early. And Rancid, and Rancid toured up in Washington State, and Tom and I went to the show, and this is literally as we're like just starting the band. So we had a lot of inspiration by some really great artists to get us kind of going. But we pretty much went DIY because we were from a small town. There's no real industry. You kind of have to like DIY, promote your own shows, get your own shows, make a show happen, bring a band from Seattle over to Bremerton, things like that. So early on, we didn't realize it, but we were becoming entrepreneurs. We were becoming business people on the side of also being artists.
And you had you don't have to go into the whole history of the mascot, and just your art in general. But how much do you think having that really bold art and merch helped you stand out as a band in those early days in the mid '90s?
I think it helped huge. I mean, it probably is like 50% of our success right there.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, and I remember when I was a kid going into Hot Topic and there'd be MxPx, and I was like, those are so cool. You know, I didn't even listen to MxPx at the time, but I was like, you know, that's honesty for you that I tell you I didn't listen to.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, that mascot, we wanted something that represented our music, was young feeling, and that really, you know, John Nissen that did the artwork, he came out with the first sketch was like more punk and more like hardcore, and we're like, that's not quite us, you know, even though we were pretty punk back in those days, but we're like, we want something younger, like more cartoony. And he came back with the Poking at Ya Punk, the one you see now.
Yeah.
And we're like,
that's
it.
So we never got a name. I always think of him Poking at You, but do you call him Poking at You?
We call him Poking at Ya Punk. Yeah,
Okay,
he doesn't
okay.
have a real name. It's
Okay.
it's some people, like if you're in Australia or some other international communities, they call him Spike or Spike.
It's kind of like
Boy.
Santa Claus is called different things in different parts of the world.
yeah.
Yeah.
But we call him the Poking at Ya Punk because our first album.
Yeah.
The cool going to like DIY kind of culture and stuff like that. I think it's a term that's been passed around a lot, right? Because everyone's, you know, there's a lot of independent artists now. But I think what's not like talked about as much is like how like important those kind of scenes are and impactful to the youth and then to the culture of, you know, of the times, what, you know, no matter which time it is. So like, can you take us back to like those moments when maybe you were playing with not the best equipment, and maybe like the speakers were blown out and you maybe had like a secondhand guitar? Can you take us back to those cool, like bittersweet moments when you first started?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the thing you're talking about with DIY scenes and all that is like, and especially with kids, like when you're 15, 16 years old, you're looking for who you are. You're trying to find out who you are. You find out where you belong. And so when you fall into that music and you fall into that scene, you know, that's like, you know, some kids get into sports and they play football, and like us, it was like, you know, we fell into just like the punk scene and like the music scene. Like, you know, I had my first band I was in, I played drums in a death metal band, but it was like I was playing in a band. It was great. You know, it was super fun. I was like, we're making music and we're making this noise and it's awesome. But like falling in that scene, it's huge, because that's why like you find out who you are and it starts defining who you are, and you get like this community of friends, and like you can all meet up at like the show, and it's just a really fun thing, especially when you're kids, you know. Like,
I wanted to add, I agree with you completely. I wanted to add, like, we didn't realize it either when we started touring and started getting out into the world, that being in a band was just basically you're a problem solver. A problem solver, because everything's going to go wrong. Anything that can go wrong is going to go wrong, and you're going to have to figure it out. So it could be like your amp blowing up or this or that, you know, on an actual show, or it could be your van or your vehicle on the way to the show breaking down. So we've dealt with pretty much every iteration of, and I'm gonna knock on wood here because there's always more, but we've dealt with a lot of iterations of problem solving. And I think that's just, if you thrive in solving problems, you'll be really good on the road, especially as, you know, these days with all the technology, there's always new things arising.
You guys famously, I grew up going to Warped Tour, as a lot of the people watching this probably did, and you played what, 4 or 5 of them, I guess, something like
a bunch,
that.
yeah, and international ones as well.
International
Yeah.
ones. What do you remember about the first one you played? What, like 96 or whenever that was, 97? Like, what was that like compared to the later ones you played?
Yeah. The first time we played Warped Tour was in 97. We played the last like 10 shows of the tour down in the Southeast, and it was hot. It was, I mean, Warped Tour is different from a club show because you're outdoors all day. You got to be there early for like load in at like 10 a.m. and like, you know, normal shows you can show up at like 5 p.m. and it's all good.
10 a.m.
Oh yeah. You're showing up early. You're loading in. The whole show starts like, you could be playing at noon, and you got to be there because they don't announce the lineup till like that morning. So everyone's got to show up early. But I remember it just being just craziness. They had the food truck backstage that fed everyone, and it was kind of like these 2 surly looking dudes that, I think at the end of every week they made just like goulash, which is just all the leftovers thrown in a pot and heated up, and it was just this mush. And but it was just like, I mean, we just knew right then, like, this is where I want to be, and this is like, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else, because it was all these great bands, and we got to play with Milo from the Descendants. He sang Hope with us on that tour in Atlanta, and just like, that was mind blowing. And so like, this is a guy we grew up listening to his band, you know, loving his music, and all of a sudden we're like sharing a stage and we're like on the same level with these kind of bands, and it's just like, it's just great. Like, you know, that's that community and that time. But yeah, just that's my biggest memory of that. Is it was crazy hot. We're living in our van, like with the AC running all day and it barely cutting it. Milo, oh man, yeah. What do you got?
I mean, I could go, but just saying, you know, we would show up at the show in the van and just run our AC all day because it's so hot. And you'd have to fill up the gas tank before. So I mean, there's like real life stuff. It was like our college. It was our University of Hard Knocks kind of thing. We learned a lot about life, and we'd already been learning those lessons, on tour leading up to that. But '97 was great, and I think we went to the first Warped Tour ever. We attended the Seattle date of that, and Tom and I went. I think the tickets cost us. We went to it was like you go to the drugstore and buy tickets, which was weird, but they were $15 tickets.
By the time you guys are doing the Warped Tours in the late 2000s, you guys were like kind of like the respected elders of the tour. So were you guys like VIPs? You guys have like baller, comfortable, like air conditioned trailers, or what was the difference between the last Warped Tours you played compared to the first one?
Well, yeah, we definitely got a little more comfortable as the years went on. We did 97, we did 98, we did 99, Australia, Europe. We did the two different separate tours, but Europe and Australia. And then we did 2000 in the U.S., and we did 2002 and 2005. So, yeah, we did at least Australia twice, and I think we only did Europe once. But am I right on that, you think?
I think twice for Europe, yeah, but it was just, I mean, we've done so many. It's crazy to even think about.
But yes, we got, there's no way around it. You're gonna get uncomfortable on a tour like Warped Tour, but by 2005, everything's changed on the Warped Tour. There's corporate entities doing like signings.
It wasn't just the size and how nice it was just the corporate influence.
It started creeping in a little bit.
Yeah, we were doing signings at like the MLB pitching cage, and we'd hit a few balls, we'd sign some things, and talk to people. It was just this circus. It was great.
I mean, if anything, if you were paying attention to business and how business worked, you could get a huge lesson by just being on the Warped Tour and seeing all these different people representing different businesses, corporate entities, all of that side of it. And then, of course, there's the actual artist doing the shows, all of that. So we'd have a schedule on the bus. And like, okay, here's what we're doing today. Here's our set time. Here's our signing. Here's our press time. Tom, you doing press today, or am I doing press, or whatever? I mean, that was kind of the vibe. You get up every morning. You'd get your cases of beer and your cases of water delivered to you. So it really was a little ecosystem that kind of just moved around the country.
And what do shows look like now? What do tours look like now compared? Like, do you guys must have a nice bus, or how do you travel?
When we
now?
tour, we'll take a bus when we tour. But a lot lately, we fly out to shows. We've been headlining a ton of festivals. We got Furnace Fest coming up. Where we're headlining Friday night, September 22. That's going to be great. But we'll fly in for that. We're going to be doing When We Were Young Fest in Las Vegas, 2 nights there, and another fly-in. Because there's these huge events we'll just go in for. And then we actually have, if I could tell you, we have the Hollywood Palladium coming up, so we'll be in town doing a show January 6th. Tickets are on sale now, but it's been growing great. People are stoked on it. It's MxPx, Less Than Jake, Reliant K, and Smoking Popes.
Oh wow!
So it's like if you know those bands, if you know the scene, it's like
it could have been called
awesome.
Bands that were once considered Christian.
Could be, except for Less Than Jake, maybe.
But I think about you and Reliant K especially.
Yeah. Oh right, yeah.
Okay, so I don't have any tattoos, but I see what's going on here. We have a lot of body art. Do you guys have any tattoos that maybe like you would want to like cover up or take back? Because I don't know how that feels to get a tattoo, but like, what are some funny tattoos that you guys have?
Tom's got a lot to say about this. I'll just say, once you get a lot of tattoos, it doesn't matter as much, but go ahead.
Yeah, I had a couple of tattoos that had to do with my ex-wife, so those got covered up. So yeah, hey,
that happens.
You live and you learn, right?
I think that's kind of rock and roll. I think it's kind of metal though, to have like to have like
that takes a lot of like heat,
What was your first? Do you remember your first tattoos?
Yeah, I had this like Hebrew symbol on my leg. Just as life. I don't know what you're 18 or 17, whatever it was. It made sense.
Probably says toilet, but we don't really know.
What about you?
Well, I got this Poking at You Punk right here, which was I got before the album actually came out, so nobody had seen the thing. So I'm like,
So
I'm
it
gonna
was
be
just
the
like
first.
it was just like a little illustration as far as everyone.
It was
else
it
concerned.
was a sketch of the album cover, but it was like a pencil sketch, not colored or anything. So I was like, I'm definitely the first person to get this tattoo. So that's my claim to fame. First person to get the Poking at You Punk. But as far as other tattoos, I got back in the day. Some of our friends got this guitar needle poke. I don't know if you ever remember seeing that or anything. You could build your own tattoo machine or tattoo gun or whatever you want to call it.
Whoa,
From
really?
Radio Shack, dating that a little bit, but from Amazon, right? You get these motors on it, so you can build your own thing, and that you put a guitar string, and that's what's
the
hitting
needle.
you. A guitar string's hitting you, and so you can't get a straight line because the guitar string's just like flopping all over the place. But I got a couple of those early jail tats back in the day, most of which are now covered.
I have to ask before we wrap this up. You're playing bass in Goldfinger.
Yes.
Is
yeah.
that like you've actually recorded music with them? You're not just a touring fun show here and there kind of thing. Like what's up with that?
Yeah, I think I started out as a touring fun bass player, but then I stuck with them over the years. I started in 2013, went to Australia with them, and then he kept calling me. John kept calling me, asking me to do more tours, and finally it was like he had a new record, and he's like, hey, write on this, play on this, and then on their latest record, Never Look Back, he would hit me up and be like, okay, play bass on all these songs, and can you write a verse on this song?
You're like
Can
a
you
real
write
band member. That's like
a
real
bridge on
band
this
member
song?
shit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so like
yeah.
I started writing lyrics and singing actually on the record, so you can hear me sing. But
Yeah, and have you been friends with John for a long time? And like,
been friends with John for a long time, but honestly, I mean, joining Goldfinger, we became much better friends because of that.
Sure.
But we met Goldfinger in Bremerton, Washington, our hometown,
Wow.
MxPx's hometown. MxPx was playing Endfest, which is a radio station show, and we were on the main stage earlier in the day, and Goldfinger was on the side stage, but they were headlining, so they were sort of headlining the little stage, and they saw us play and we saw them, and we already knew who they were, but they had
Right.
seen us for the first time. So that was sort of like something that John always remembers. I remember seeing you at that one thing and blah, blah, blah. It was in Bremerton where you live. I'm like, that's the one. Yes, that's where we met. So it was kind of cool because I remember listening to Goldfinger back in the MTV days.
Yeah.
Back when
Here in Your Bedroom.
Here in Your Bedroom was
Yeah.
a huge song, and to me it was like they were as big as any band.
right,
So,
right. Yeah, I saw them with Zebrahead back in the day.
Yeah, we love those guys.
I had the Zebrahead shirt that looked like the Tide logo, but it was Zebrahead.
That was so huge back in the day, where
fake
well, it probably
logos,
still is,
yeah,
but
yeah,
just
yeah.
the fake logo of like a corporate logo, but putting your band name on it.
Herrera.
Yeah, that's my name.
Spanish. Are
Yeah,
you
Spanish. Yeah.
Demi's Puerto Rican, so she likes to.
Okay. Yeah. I have the Smith of Mexican last names, but yeah, my dad is Mexican, really. His parents spoke only Spanish. So my grandparents.
Did you grow up speaking Spanish?
Not really. So it's funny because my dad was in the Navy. So when I was a kid, he was gone on a boat, just like I was kind of gone on tour when I had my kids. But he regrets. He's like, every time I see him and I'm trying to speak Spanish or something, he's like, "Man, I failed you, son. I failed you."
Yeah,
But I know a few words, but I definitely am not fluent.
Curse of being second generation, or was it first generation?
second.
That's
yeah.
so
you
cool
s-
to
I-
represent. I feel like I don't know. I really can't name many like Hispanic frontmen of in rock and roll. I think that's so cool.
My legendary frontman growing up was Richie Valens, because he was Hispanic, but also just seeing that movie La Bamba, that was really inspiring.
So really,
for
it's
me.
Lou Diamond Phillips you're really into.
Lou Diamond Phillips, yes.
That's cool. Yeah. So as you got older, did you kind of get more in touch with like your Mexican heritage and all, or no?
Sure, I did, Jordan. Sure I did.
I was trying. Yeah. I as soon as I started saying that, I was like, "That's not. I shouldn't have." Yeah.
It's
not,
the blinking meme, the guy that blinks at you and just smiles. Yeah, no, I mean, it's funny because people are gonna ask me till the day I die, do you speak Spanish? And I'm gonna have to say a poquito más.
Yeah.
Or I didn't even say that right.
A little more.
I didn't even say a little more.
Demi just got back from the motherland. She was in Puerto Rico a few days ago. How was that, Demi?
Super olive, like one day in the sun, and I'm like, you should have seen how I went there.
We love it.
This is, if I stayed a few more days, I'd probably be,
Yeah, like South America is insane down there. Costa Rica, going further south, Brazil. Anytime we've experienced shows, and we've been down there a few times,
Yeah.
it's insane. So we're trying to get back down there.
We've been to Puerto Rico once, but we played a show, but it wasn't a real show. It was for an MTV movie. It was Wuthering Heights. They did a remake of it. But we were there for like a solid 3-4 days.
Like the band in the background playing or something.
Exactly. Yeah.
I just thought it was kind of like a fun little notch in the belt for a band to have. Is like they were like we interviewed that was in we interviewed somebody that was in a movie. We interviewed Mark Arm from Mudhoney, and they were in Black Sheep, the Chris Farley movie, and he talked about that. That
We
was cool.
love Mudhoney, by the way.
Oh yeah,
Speaking of
yeah.
grunge and like bands that we
Yeah,
were
that's
into.
one of Demi's favorites interviews.
Yeah.
get a lot to say about like the scene in Seattle and just like Nirvana and
Before the last thing I want to ask you about, you got this badass space that you guys record, rehearse in. You guys did that live feed for the album release. Have you always? That's one thing that's interesting to me is like when bands become successful, they build their ideal practice space, their ideal studio. So is this like a long time coming? Like, have you always kind of dreamed of having, this ultimate space?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. Like most artists want to have a studio to do their stuff, like a lab to create, right? In 1999, we built a studio in my parents' garage. So where we used to practice for like Life in General and all the early stuff.
What was the gear you used at the time?
We got ADATs. So I don't know if anybody knows what ADATs are, but they're basically like giant VCRs. Yeah. They look like VHS tapes, but they record audio. So we're recording on that. We put together a studio called the Clubhouse. We recorded Panic, one of our albums there, and a bunch of other things. And that really was the jumping off point as far as like, okay, we're gonna always or should always have a studio. Right. It's just so convenient. Even if you don't record your actual albums there, you can record all your demos. You can rehearse. You can get a lot of work done. So fast forward to now, 2007, I bought a house in Bremerton, Washington, that I just completely changed into a studio. Mm-hmm. Built a studio, recording all of that, and then fast forward to now, we're doing live streams. So it's a TV studio, it's a streaming broadcast studio. And it's not traditional. It's not like your traditional TV studio, but it does the things that a TV studio would do.
And way elevated than a lot of people have.
Yeah, and that's what's insane is like it just takes a lot of focus, time, obviously investing some cash.
Are you into like the AV stuff, like the cameras and the lighting and all that kind of stuff? Like have you gotten more into it over the years because you've been around it?
I'm an AV nerd. I really am. Like I started out in high school, had an independent class that was it was like, I don't know, I guess it was called media or something. And
it's like AV club, yeah.
Yeah, AV class. And we didn't have a real classroom. It was just me and a few other people in the library in this like side room. And we had those editors where you would edit the VHS tapes and then onto each other. So you scroll it and scrub it. You don't know what I'm talking about at all.
I'm a little bit younger than you, so I don't know.
Yeah. So like the real like analog editing. I started making videos like skate videos with that. And then the skate videos turned into band videos and things like that. So
were you into like the CKY stuff? And
I was a little bit busy when that became up, but I remember seeing the CKY stuff come up and go, that's cool. But I would have already kind of passed paying attention to that and on to like, we're on tour, we're doing this.
I feel like there had to have been some MxPx songs on like those skate videos and stuff, right?
We had a bunch of songs like Cinema Beer. I'm not gonna remember all the names, but like Cinema Beer Nuts is one that I remember that people come up to us all the time. Cinema Beer Nuts. And it was a compilation. I think Doing Time was on it or something like that.
Yeah. I remember there was a one called Punk Uprisings. I think that was on Lookout. They came out and had a punk rock show on it, and it was kind of like people's first taste of us, like in like the greater punk scene, because Lookout was like one of those touchstone labels where it was like everything on it was cool,
Yeah. For those of you under the age of 30, if you go on YouTube, you can find like old skate videos from the 90s. That's where like Spike Jones came up, and you know, even Tony Hawk, even though he was a star, he was involved with these, and all the Jackass guys, of course.
Jason Lee was a skater.
Yeah, Jason Lee. Totally. So, Demi, you got anything else? We're going to peace out on this.
I think that's super cool how like skate culture is like combined. I think one of the terms that was used to describe your music was skate rock or skate punk.
Skate punk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's definitely
Where
true.
does that come from? Is it just like because of the videos and stuff like that, or?
Yeah, it's just the melding of the two worlds of just like, you know, music and skating. It just all went together really well. So, you know, you play the music that gets people stoked, and they just go out and pump even harder. And yeah,
Just like your PSY shows, Demi, at the King
That
Ramps.
is so true. That's right. I'm playing a skate park on Saturday, but I
Yeah.
always wondered like where does the two like where and how do the two cross?
Because it's easy to set up a 3-piece band at a skate
Punk
park.
boys love skateboards. I guess that's what it is.
Well, that's the question.
Right.
Last question.
Do you guys skateboard?
Yeah. Do you guys skateboard? Good question.
Yeah.
you do.
I skateboard. Yes. I still skateboard? Technically, yeah. I never quit, but I just don't as often as I used to. But I used to be in the skate park. I used to be on my ramp. You know, right at my house. Built like a I guess you just call it a vert ramp, or what is it called?
You got a half pipe.
A jump ramp. I don't have a half pipe.
Quarter pipe.
Quarter pipe. There you go. I'm like forgetting
What's it
all
called?
the terms.
Yeah.
You know, there was,
I know how to ollie. Come on.
You do Ollie? That's the only thing I know about Ollie.
Yeah, there was definitely our first couple tours where Mike would bring his skateboard with him, and I'd be like, "Hey, that's cool and all, but you break your arm, we're done." Like, so you might want to chill a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
I always got these guys on my back, making sure I'm not doing anything too crazy. So yeah, I just chill. Yeah. But yeah, I love skateboarding. I still enjoy it. But I love seeing other people skate to our music. We actually have a skate video. It's not out yet. But we have a video for one of our songs on the new record that's a bunch of skaters. It's
So
us at a
it's
skate
like
park.
kind of like a throwback to those skate videos.
Oh yeah.
We're playing at this skate park down in Tacoma, right by where we live, and it ended up being really fun.
Awesome.
It was rad.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for coming by and joining us on the show. The new album, Find a Way Home, is out now. Do you have what's coming up in the next September, October? What's going on?
So we got Furnace Fest coming up September 22nd. We have, of course, we're going to be doing some more live streams coming up. Maybe not this year. I don't know. We'll see. Anything could happen. But for those that can't get to the actual physical shows, we love to be able to provide that other service, you know, like give them free shows online. So we're going to continue to do not only face-to-face in-person shows, we're going to do live stream shows on the internet through 2024. So a lot of the dates are going to be hitting in 2024.
All right. That's it for us. Demi, thank you for joining us, Demi, via satellite in New York. And as always, go to popdust.com for the latest in pop culture and music news. Follow me on Instagram at Jordan Edwards Studio. Follow Demi at Demi_Ramos. Until next time, we'll see you later.